Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Let me adjust myself a little bit. Good evening. Good evening. Come in, share, and invite. Bring somebody in that you know could use this information. So, we are going to give you guys some practical keys. I get a lot of questions. Good evening. Hi, Cynthia. I get a lot of questions all the time. People that realize that I have gone through a divorce ask me a lot of questions. I've had people call me crying, men and women. I've had people, hey Rika, I've had people stop me in the store. People ask me all kinds of questions about how do you get past this and how do you overcome that and how do you do this and how do you do that. So I thought, well, I'll answer their questions in my inbox or in my email. I'll just take the questions and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. So as much as I always come to you guys from a religious from not a religious, but from a spiritual perspective, I'm just going to be practical with you guys tonight because this is something that a lot of people deal with. So people want to know how come it's not addressed in the church? Why is nobody talking about it? Why is nobody teaching on it? Why are people, doing this, that, and the other? So I have people that are hurt, that are just don't know which way to turn, don't know what to do because their life is basically altered. So those of you that were with me a couple of days ago, remember that I talked about soul ties and I talked about the importance of deliverance and the importance of breaking the soul tie, the importance of destroying and severing the ties that bind us together with someone that we're no longer with. Well, I want to start this before I start answering questions. I want to start with saying to you guys, good evening, Bishop. I want to start with saying to you guys that being married to someone is one of the toughest soul ties that you will ever have to suffer through if it ever comes to the point that a divorce is part of the equation. And why is that? And that is because it has been honorable. The bed has not been defiled, but you have still tied yourself to that person. You have some of us have spent years tying ourselves, and we've had children. We've bought homes and cars, and we've done all of the things that we had in our mind, in our fairy tale picture, right? All of the things that we thought were right or that we knew were right in the sight of God. So even deeper than dealing with a boyfriend or dealing with a girlfriend or someone that you were just dating or courting, or though even deeper, I believe the soul tie is when you've been married to a person. So I'll give you guys a little background. I myself was married for 16 years, raised 6 children in 16 years, only to get to a point of maturity and what I thought was a level of success or what have you, for my husband to decide that he no longer wanted to be married. Now, here, you guys watch this. No one is exempt because not only was I married for 16 years, but I was married to a pastor. And we had become co-pastors of a ministry. We had not only raised our own children, but raised other people's children and taught the body of Christ the word of God. But he decided that he no longer wanted to be married. So therefore, he went and he filed for a divorce. There were many things that I can, go on about and give you guys background information about as to what I think the reason is, but I was never given a reason other than accusations that were not true. So anyway, we're here tonight, and I do have a few questions that came into my email that I'm going to answer for you guys. And if anyone is on here and you want to ask me a question, then ask it. If it's scrolling too fast and I don't see it, then you guys, point it out to me, and somebody, do something and say, hey, get a grip. So I want you guys to know the reason that I'm doing this as well, and that is for the people. the people that are hurting, that are crying out, that want to know practical ways to get past a lot of things that happen when you find yourself in the midst of divorce. So the very first question that came to my inbox was, how do you get your head above water when you have been used to living off of two incomes? How do you get your head above water when you're used to living off of two incomes? Well, I'll tell you guys right now, it is, I'm going to give you a little background every time. When you have been married and you've established things, it is a huge change to go from depending on one another to depending solely on your own. So how do you get your head above water when you are used to living off two incomes? Number one is to decide that you are going to get up and do the best that you can do to provide for yourself and maybe for your children if they're a factor. It's a decision. And then number two, the most practical way that I can give you is to create a budget for yourself. One of the first things that I did, and this is before, unlike most people, and I'm just going to be full disclosure. I'm going to be transparent tonight. So those of you, I hope that you don't hold it against me. Most people do not get in the position of trying to figure out what to do until it's already over. Me, because I have tried through the years, I'm going to say tried because nobody's perfect, through the years to walk as closely with God as possible, to hear his voice as much as possible, knew before the end of this thing, before the divorce came about, that it was going to happen. So one of the first things that I did was decided that I was going to do whatever needed to be done. And the very first thing I did was fixed my credit. And some of you that may be a more difficult thing to do than it was for me. I had no credit. I got married at the age of 24. I had no need to put my name on anything or to buy anything. I didn't have to. So I needed to establish credit. So I constantly thank God for him revealing himself to me and showing me what was coming. And I'm so keen with him that he will show me something so quick in a vision, and I might not get it right away, but I know that there's some action that needs to take place. So the very first thing that I did, and this is a practical thing that you can do, and if you don't know where to start, if you need to repair your credit, then you need to inbox me tonight. You need to create a budget. You need to repair your credit. You need to create a budget, and you need to repair your credit. It's a decision to do the best thing that you can do for yourself. This is practical, very practical. So the first thing was repaired the credit. Hi, Hilda. Hi, Kimberly, Tracy, all of you guys. Hi, everybody. Hi, Takia, Lakeisha, all of you. Sean, hi, everybody. So, hi, Takia. So you see my coaching systems behind me. I do have coaching systems called Master Your Mind. So here we go. Let's stay on task. So repairing your credit, creating a budget based off of your single income now, instead of trusting someone else to take care of your bills. Budgets hurt, right? So budgets can hurt, and they can be a distraction. If you're someone that loves to shop, loves to buy things, and you are used to having your freedom, well, guess what? It won't take long for you to get back to where you need to be. You just need to let go of some of the pleasures that you have so that you can do what you need to do without being inhibited, okay? So create a budget, repair your credit. So in repairing my credit, I realized that that this was a huge benefit to everything that I was doing. So I began 3 years out, I began paying off my credit cards, paying them down. Because right now, as I was going through this, there were two incomes. So I began to pay off my credit cards. I would take my whole just about my whole payroll check and just pay off a credit card, pay it off. And what was it doing? It was boosting my credit. So let me tell you guys the reasons that you need to do these things. Those of you that already are out and you need to get to this place, there are many reasons that you need to, because you need to have a name that you can stand on, and you need to have your own. And so I didn't know what I was preparing for. I didn't know I was going to need it, because I hadn't needed it in 16 years. I hadn't needed my credit. I hadn't needed to use my income, nothing, because I was married to a man that believed that the man should take care of the home, and he did just that. To his credit, because this is not a man bashing session. To his credit, he took very good care of our home. Well, very good care of the things. Those of you that know me, y'all laughing right now, but very good care of paying bills, let's put it like that, to his credit, because we don't want to discredit anybody. That's not what we're doing. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck, Sean, to answer your question, you have got to create a budget, and then you've got to develop multiple streams of income. So that was the other thing. I want to stay on task. That was the other thing. Create a budget, restore the credit, multiple streams of income, pay off things. Pay them off. Don't play around with it. Let it hurt for 2 weeks and let it come back around. Because what you do when you pay off these revolving credit lines, when you pay off things that are nagging at you, right? It hurts for those 2 weeks, but then when it comes back around, you're completely free. Because you don't have to pay that bill anymore. So you got to think. You got to think practical. When this happens to you, if it happens to you, you got to think practical. God, I pray that it doesn't happen to anybody else, but it will. So we have to be practical. Create a budget, repair the credit, multiple streams of income. Multiple streams of income can be whatever you determine it to be. Now, considering what you're going through, you have to have multiple streams of income that comply with your schedules, that comply with the schedules, that comply with the schedule. Because adding more stress when you're going through a divorce and adding more stress to yourself, it's not going to help you. You are going to have to be laser focused and determined to get to a certain place, and that's a place where you can breathe and have your head above water, like the question said. Multiple streams of income so that you're not dependent just on your job. When I think about it all the time, I've always had multiple streams of income as long as I can remember, and they became more and more important when I had to begin to pay bills and do things on my own that I hadn't normally done. And I'm going to testify for you guys and tell you a little bit more about what happened after I answer all the questions. Is that okay? So the next question was, how do I cope with my children? Okay, this is a big deal for me, and women don't agree with me, and that's okay, because we can agree to disagree. People don't often agree with me, but having been a child that was raised without her father, I find it very important to co-parent. I find it very important to co-parent and make it as easy for each other as possible. It is very, very stressful for children. Even if they don't say it, it is very stressful for them. And you need to try and get along in that area. So I am not combative at all when it comes to my daughter. I think she's more combative about the decisions that we make than I am. She's 11 years old. And this is not her fault. So we have to make it easy for each other. How do you cope with your children? Number one, don't use them as pawns against each other. And the church said amen. Yes. And the church said amen. Don't use them as pawns against one another. Ever. Don't play them against the other parent. Ever. How do you cope with your children? You let it be as natural to them as possible. Let them be a part of the decision-making process. Don't say that they're just children and they need to be quiet. No, they need to be a part of the decision-making process when it applies to them. Okay, we're going to daddy's house or mommy's house on the weekend and 2 days during the week. Let them know. One thing that I learned, my daughter is very smart. She's very intuitive and she's very outspoken. Can't imagine where she gets that from. But her godmother is on here, so we're going to blame it on her. She is very smart. And so one of the things that I learned early on is that you have to inform them. You have to tell them what is going on, because we would communicate we would communicate with each other, but we were not communicating with her. We were not telling her when the other parent was going to pick her up. So she would be upset. And she's like, Mommy, why didn't you tell me that daddy was picking me up today? Or why didn't you tell me this? Or why didn't you tell me that? And so now we have learned that it's important to communicate with her and make her a part of the decision-making process. And it has made it so much easier for her. Does she still discuss sometimes? Yes. Is she always happy with the decision we make? No. But we try to make sure that she understands why we're doing it and that it's for her own good. And she is so smart that she understands a lot more than what we tell them. So you guys, listen, stop lying to your children. I don't know why I just heard that, but stop lying to them. Tell them the truth and tell them what's going on. And don't bash the other parent to them. It's time. Listen, you thought enough for them to say I do. You thought enough for them to lay down with them and have children. You thought enough for them to invest your time. You thought enough of them to tie your soul to them. Now think enough of them to not disrespect them to the other child. To the child. Don't disrespect them. Don't bash the other parent. Because here's the thing, people. Children learn by what they see and what they hear. You don't have to tell them anything. I don't have to tell them anything. I've never had to tell them anything. I've never. And I had 2 children when I got married. My son is 22 years old. He can come down here right now and tell you that he never heard me say a negative word about his father to him. Ever. Never said a negative word about his father to him. I let him make his own decisions about his father. I let him make his own decisions about how he felt about him, about who he is, what his character is. They have the ability, because they're humans. Yeah. Public service announcement. They're humans, to make their own mind up about what this other person is. Okay, so excuse me, just a nosy one. It's my niece. I don't know why she think it's okay. Get out of here and stop distracting me. So I apologize. So let the kids, that's how you cope with your children. You let them be a part of the decision making. You open and honest with them, tell them the truth, and you don't bash the other parent to them. That's how you cope with your children. That's how you do it. So people say, okay, well, it's a little harsh to say how to overcome. Listen, it's not, there's no, this shoe doesn't fit everybody. You have to make a decision about overcoming. The next question is, how do I get through the periods of depression? I want to say to you guys, and listen, my friends that are on here, they'll tell you something probably not right with me in the head, but I didn't battle with any depression at all. But I can tell you that depression, number one, is not from God. And that means that if it's not from God, it's from your adversaries, from the enemy. He desires for you to be depressed. And this is a man asking me this. How do you overcome depression? You overcome it by getting up and making a decision for yourself, understanding that this is not the end of the world. Yes, you gave this person your all. Yes, you said I do. Yes, you spent $30,000 on a wedding. Yes, you bought a house and a car, and now your life does not look the way it did when you started out. You can overcome depression. You can overcome it, first of all, by seeking the Lord. I did not, and I just didn't. I didn't go through any periods of depression. Did I go through periods of times where I questioned myself? Of course. Every human being will question themselves. Was this the right thing to do? Which it didn't matter, because I was served. It didn't matter if it was the right thing to do or not. I was asked to vacate, right? To vacate this commitment. But for you all that are asking the question, depression is not of God. You have to get up and decide that this is not the last day. You have to decide that I'm not going to be bitter. I'm going to be better. I'm going to get past this. You have to decide that I'm going to live. What does the word of God say? That Jesus Christ came that you might have life and that more abundantly. It does not say that you might have life if you decide. It doesn't say that. It does not say that life does not belong to people that have been divorced. It does not say that. You guys have to understand that you still have a right to the tree of life, that you still can live, and you still can be a decent human being who loves again and lives a great life after this. There is life after this. One thing that I am a firm believer of is that whatever you're going through, at some point it's going to be over, and you should know that this too shall what? Shall what? Where are my Bible scholars? This too shall what? It shall pass. So don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't sit around moping. You know, I give people, in my coaching, I give people 2 hours to have a pity party. I mean, if you got to cry, I want you to get it all out. I want you to understand that it's okay. I want you to cry, and I want you to be upset. I want you to do everything that you need to do to get it out your system. But then we need to start on a system and a plan to renew and to restore. Oh, that's powerful, to redeem. Because don't you understand that your Savior is a redeemer? He is a restorer. So whatever you've lost in this process, whatever you've gone through in this process, he's a restorer. He's a restorer and he's a redeemer. So everything can be replaced, and it can be replaced greater. I only had 3 questions that people were bold enough to email me. So that's the end of the questions. Now I'll tell you guys a little bit about why I'm able to give you this information. When I talk about restoring, when I talk about restoration, I talk about you guys creating a budget for yourself and learning how to live on one paycheck. I want to tell you what happened during my process. So as I stated before, to the credit of my ex-husband, he took care of everything. I did not pay bills, and I still went to work every day. I didn't pay bills. I took care of stuff for the children, and bought groceries and food and gas and paid for vacations and that kind of thing. That was just the way that it was set up in 16 years of marriage. So what happened, and everything, when I say it happened so quick, it happened so quick, which again is a reason for me to tell the Lord, thank you for preparing me prior to it happening. October, I'm served with divorce papers. Did I lose my breath for just a minute? But the first thing I did was got on the phone and I called my dad, and he said to me, he said, well, how do you feel? And I was like, well, I feel relieved. I knew it was coming, and I'm ready and I'm prepared. And he wanted to know what I was going to do next. So that's what you guys need to decide. What's your plan of action? What are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? Because you can't just sit there. You can't just stop, and you can't just wallow. This is how people go through divorces, lose everything, and never get back up again. You cannot just sit there. You've got to be in motion, and you've got to move. October. So then November comes along, and he calls me. I moved out of the house the same week. The same week. And I'm talking about, and my girlfriends are on here, they would tell you that I got served with papers on Monday evening, and by Saturday night I was out of the house, and I left it spotless. And I didn't take everything out of it. You guys got to take this, you got to have a I'm grown attitude. Take the bitterness out of it. Just get over it. Say, you know what, let me get me and mine and go, right? For the sake of your sanity. There's some things you just don't need to take anyway, because you're just taking memories with you. You're just taking spirits with you that you don't even need to deal with when you move on. November comes, and he calls me. He says, well, I'm going to pick up your car now. Okay, cool. So the car that I take our daughter to school in, the car that I drive to go to work, so that now I can take care of things, you're going to take it. Not a problem. Guess what, you guys? And I'm being as transparent as possible without showing you guys my insides. I did not bicker. I did not get upset. I did not cry. I did not complain. I took action. So in the midst of that, he asked me, he said, oh, because I just said, okay, that was my exact expression. Okay. And he says to me, in a question manner, well, what are you going to do? And just like I told you guys when I got on here to start, whatever I have to do. So I want you to understand how good God is when you trust him and you believe him. And I want people to understand that he belongs to you. I don't care what people are teaching or saying in the church about you going through a divorce. And if they're not saying anything, you don't worry about it. You go through it and you come out, because God is still a restorer, and he's close to you, and he loves you, and he wants to see you succeed. Don't forget that Jeremiah 29:11 still applies to you. So here we are in November. It is 2 days before I'm supposed to leave the country for my birthday with my girlfriends in Cancun. So it's like, okay, I stopped for a minute. I hung up the phone. I stopped. I said, okay, Lord, you're going to have to show me how to do this. So I remember that, the bank is always sending me things about pre-approvals. Let me just go on here and see what happens. So I went on the computer the same night after hanging up the phone. I didn't get depressed. I didn't waddle in it. I took action, and that's what you have to do. I got on the computer, pulled up my bank, who I've been in good standing with for years. Now, I talked to you guys about paying off credit cards, but guess what? My credit cards were not delayed. They were not late. So the bank trusts me with my money and with their money. So I went online and I filled out all the paperwork. I was like, okay, Lord, you have to do this, because I've got to, I'm leaving to go to Mexico on Wednesday, and it's a Sunday night. How are we going to do this? So I went on there, I filled out the application, did everything. They said, guess what? You approved for some astronomical amount of money. I mean, I could have bought a Maybach if I wanted to, but guess what? Listen, we ain't rolling like that. We just got to be practical, right? So I printed out the certificate. I was like, okay, this is good. So the thing just said, well, choose the car that you want, print out the certificate, take it to the car dealership. Now, I've never bought a car, ever. I didn't have to. I never bought a car. I graduated high school. My mother gave me a car. I moved to Florida. She gave me another one. I got married. He bought the car. 16 years. I didn't have to buy one. I didn't know what was going on. So I printed out the certificate, you guys, and I'm telling you, this is all God. I take no credit for it. None, because I didn't know what I was doing. And I went to the car dealership with my little certificate, and I said, okay, well, these are the two cars I chose. Can I, can I have one of these cars? And the guy's looking at me. He looking dumbfounded. I don't know what's going on. It's like, okay, I want one of the two cars. You got to give me A or you got to give me B. So he looked at me. He said, well, A, ma'am, I already sold that one, but I do have B sitting on the lot. I said, okay, I'll take it. Give me the paperwork or whatever. He said, well, you don't need to fill out any paperwork because the bank already approved you. This is just like walking in here with a check. Somebody ought to shout glory. This is like walking in here with cash money. So whatever you want out there, basically, you can have it. So I'm looking crazy because the only thing I know about cars is, okay, you need a down payment, you need to do this, you need to do that. And And I knew that I was going out of town. And when I tell you, money strapped for cash, and the whole way I was praying and I was saying, okay, Lord, whatever. So I talked to the young man. I'm still not understanding what's going on. I go out there to my car. My car, because I had already claimed it. Walked in, opened the door, sat on the passenger side, didn't even drive it, didn't crank it up. I looked up the Carfax, knew the car had some minor damage, but it was not anything major. It was still under warranty at the Mercedes-Benz company, so I'm good, right? I'm good. So I look at the young man and he says, okay, well, you know, what do you want to do? Because I have to give my manager some information I want to tell him. So I said, listen, I'm going out of town in 2 days. I really don't have time for the back and forth, the process. This is what I need. Do not, where my budget people at? Okay. I had already walked in there with a number that I was not going to pay more than per month. I will not pay more than $500 a month for this car. That was my budget, right? I will not, is what I said to him. So you let him know that. And I am not going to give you a huge down payment. I'm not going to do it. I just can't. Hey, Marcy, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. And so I'm just talking trash, telling him what I'm not going to do, what I can't do, and what I ain't going to do. And I said, so you call me when he's made a decision. And I walked off the lot, got in my car, and I left. I got in my car, and I left, and I was on my lunch break from my corporate job. And this whole thing transpired in about 20 minutes. So I get in my car and I leave, and I'm saying, oh, well, you know, I got another, 40 minutes before I have to go back to work. Let me just go and drive and exhale. So while I'm driving, he calls me. He says, Miss Jackson, I have good news for you. You can come back and pick up your car. You just need to bring proof of insurance, and you just need to pay the tax and the tag. And that's, I think he said like $475, $500. Something like that. He said, and your car payment is less than $500 like you asked. And not only was it less, he didn't give me the you know how the people play with you, right? And they be like, oh, it's $490 something. No, it was like $450 something. And why? Because I put in the atmosphere and I declared to him what I was and what I was not going to do. Not knowing this is all God. He is taking care of what I don't know. So I want to say to you guys tonight, stop worrying about what you don't know and lean and depend on the Lord to take care of it, because he will. So long story short, I go the next day, which is Tuesday. Now y'all remember I'm going to Mexico on Wednesday. Go the next day. I don't know nothing. Can I just tell y'all, I didn't know nothing. I didn't know anything. Now I have written books, spoke to thousands, preached the gospel, but I didn't know nothing about buying a car and insurance and all of this stuff. So I'm running around going crazy, and I'm calling my friends, and they're telling me what I got to do, and they're helping me and doing all kind of stuff. And so I tell him, I said, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. So I go back the next day on my lunch break. Now I've got my insurance, I have my insurance, everything's together. And he said, oh, okay, well, everything looks good. You can take your car. And I'm thinking, now you guys remember all this happened from a Sunday to a Tuesday. So I'm thinking, this man just gave me a Mercedes with 17,000 miles on it. Is he sure? Is he sure of me? Because I have never, right? But remember, the credit was restored. The budget was created. The decree was made. And God, I had to lean on him to show me what to do. So needless to say, I went back to work. So well, I'll be back after work to pick the car up. I called my son and I told him, I said, I'm coming to pick you up because I need you to go with me to pick up my car. And he's thinking, what you mean? Aren't you driving your car, pick up your car? The kids don't need full disclosure when it comes to the things that you're working out between you and him. Why bash them? Why tell them that this is going on? No, just do what you got to do. Be an adult. It's adulting. Be an adult about it. So I'm gonna show y'all one real childish thing that you could say is childish, but this is what I did. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys, okay? So I went after work. I picked up my son and I took him with me to the car dealership to get my car. And he was like, "Oh, what are we doing?" Right? So what we did is we took the car that I was driving that the ex-husband said he was going to pick up from me. We took it to his house and parked it in the yard and left the keys. What am I saying to you tonight? And you can take it to the bank. If you depend on God, if you depend on the Lord, he will help you. He will help you, and he will allow, and he will keep you from being embarrassed or humiliated because you have put your trust in him. I put my trust in him, and he showed me what to do. So the thing that you were going to take from me, you don't have to take it. I'm going to give it up. Think about Jesus. He told him, you can't take my life lest I lay it down. You can't take anything from me because I belong to God. So let me give you your stuff so that I can move on with my life. You guys, this is real. This is real. And I'm talking about trusting God through the process. Practical ways. Practical ways. Trust him. Trust him. Stop moping and complaining and crying and whining. If God's going to fix it and he's going to work it out, he's going to fix it and he's going to work it out. And if he's not, you've got to learn to pick your pieces up, put them back together, put them in your bag, carry them on your shoulder until you can put them all back together and do what you need to do. So here we are. Let's keep going, because I'm gonna give you guys the second part of this testimony of why I can tell you how to overcome. So the next thing that happens, now I have my two youngest children. They need a roof over their head. They got to live somewhere, right? They got to live somewhere. Y'all, come on. They got to live. We got to live somewhere. Now me, hey, I'm a mother, and we will do whatever it takes. We're going to make it happen. So I call up my girlfriend now. I go to Mexico, have a good time with my friends, relax, release. We prayed on the ocean, did all the things that I just felt like I needed to do. Just get it out. Had a blast. And I come back, and now, okay, it's back to reality. It's back to pick up the things, and it's back to doing what I need to do. The kids need a roof over their head. They got to live somewhere. So I call a realtor, who is also my girlfriend, and I said to her, I need a place to live. We got to find some place. I need to rent a place. Now, I'm going to show you about my small thinking. Small thinking. I need to rent a place. And she's an awesome realtor. And she was taking me through rentals. And we're going through these gorgeous townhomes. And we're in these people's houses looking at all this stuff. And I'm looking at the amount that the rent is going to cost me. I had a budget. And I need 3 bedrooms. And those of you that don't know what the real estate is like in Florida, honey, let me tell you, for what we pay for renting an apartment, you can buy 2 houses in Georgia, just in comparison, right? So listen, I was saying, okay, we got to do this. So we're looking at things. Nothing was settling with me, simply because I was like, oh my God, I have allergies. I'm thinking about everything. I'm not going to be mowing no grass. I'm not going to mow no grass. I'm not going to be doing this and that and the other. I'm already talking to myself because I know me. And I ain't want nobody rolling up to my house and it look like don't nobody live there. Hello, somebody. You got to know yourself, right? And so I look at her and I said, yeah, we're not going to do this. What we need to do to buy? What do I need to do to put myself in a position to buy? Because I feel like what I'm going to pay for rent, I could be paying for my own. Now, you guys, I'm talking about just divorce is not final. Keep that over your head. This is just January. Divorce is not final. October to January. So she was like, okay, let's fill out paperwork, get you pre-qualified, see what you qualify for. Let's go through the motions off of my one income, with a restored credit history, with a budget. You guys, do the things, do it now so that you can reap the benefits of it later. Divorce not final. And I'm buying a house. Just like that. Go through pre-qualifications, filling out all the paperwork, sending them all of my information for the last 3 years, blood, sweat, and tears, writing letters, explaining to them that I'm going through a divorce, thinking to myself, these people ain't about to give me no house because, you know, this cannot be real. But knowing and trusting that God's going to do it. And guess what? He did again. He did it again. He did it again. He did it again. He did it again, because all through this process, I have a inner circle of girlfriends that when my mind want to go to the left, they say, no, let's go to the right. Let's keep it all in perspective. And the good thing about it is my girlfriends were through the process. The lawyer was my girlfriend. The realtor, girlfriend. My counselors, girlfriends. People that I love and I trust. My biggest help, my dad, the voice of a man, saying to me, you can absolutely do this. And so we go through the pre-qualifications process to say, oh, well, you qualify for this. So we start looking. And again, your girl is thinking, ain't no man, ain't gonna be cutting no grass. I mean, my son, he's 20. He was like 20 at the time. I was like, Lord, help us, because y'all know these millennials. No. We can't depend on that. We just can't. So we're looking. And then we come upon this place that is pre-construction. Hello, y'all hear me? Pre-construction. So we stumble upon this place that are doing all of these incentives. Y'all look at how God works, providing all of these incentives for buying something that's not even built yet. I'm talking about closing costs, title help, like all kinds of just ridiculous low interest rates, fixed mortgage, craziness. Nobody but God. Only He can do this type of thing. So we come to this place, and it is in a townhome development, and they have townhomes and they have villas. And so there's no cutting the grass because somebody else takes care of the outside. Check. Didn't have to worry about that. I had already said, this is my budget for mortgage. It cannot be over this amount, which was the amount that I was willing to pay for rent. Check meant that. Had to get approvals. Approvals were coming left and right. All God. Divorce not final. Buying a house. Going through the process. Divorce not final. Buying a house. So guess what, you guys? That always happens. I'm sorry. Long story short, I get to the mediation table to settle the divorce. And I'm like supposed to close on my house the next week, right? But guess what? The closing got delayed. So they called me and said, oh, well, don't worry about it. The cabinets didn't come in or something. I don't know. Something crazy happened. And I was like, okay, fine. So they delayed the closing for a month. Because if the closing had happened before the divorce was final, he would have had to write a letter saying, that he knows that this was not his transaction, that he is not going to go after me for my house, etc., blah, 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 whatever, right? And I was like, oh, Lord, we don't want to ask him for nothing else. We just don't want to do that. So the closing of the house was delayed. So guess what happened first? The divorce was final, and then I closed on my house. You guys, you got to understand, this is not me, not Rashida at all. These are practical tools. The practicality of it allowed God to do what He needed to do. If I had not applied myself, if I hadn't tried at least to step out, my aunt used to tell me that God helps those that help themselves. That's just a cliche. That's just what people say. But I could hear that in the back of my mind. I have to help myself. And one of the things that I always tell people is that you have to give God something to work with. Whatever you have, give it to Him and He'll work with it. So all I had was my name. All I had was my ability to create a budget for myself and my family, and to decide that I was not going to be bitter, that I'm going to be better than I've ever been before. And then restore my credit so that I could sign my own name on the line to do whatever it is that I need to do. So I tell you guys today that I own my home, that I have no co-signers, co-parents, nobody. My name is on the paperwork, because I decided that I was not going to be pitiful, but I was going to be powerful. And that's what you have to do. You have to decide to be powerful. Take your power back. When you spend your time depressed and worried and constrained, you give somebody else power over you. You give somebody else power over your ability to change. You give somebody else power over your character and your namesake. But you have the right to take your power back. You have the right to give God everything he needs to work with you, so that he can make you powerful instead of pitiful, so that he can restore you, so that you don't have to resent what has happened to you. Let me tell you people something. Let me tell you guys something. Some of you may listen to this and you may share it with somebody that may be resentful, or that may, not agree with the things that I'm saying. But let me tell you something. God will take everything and put it all back together. Why? Because his word declares it, and he has to fulfill his word. What does he say? All things work together for what? For the good of them that love God and that are called according to his purpose. I know that I'm called. Do you know that you're called? All things are going to work. He didn't say that marriage is the only thing that was going to work. He didn't say that, just your happiness was going to work. Guess what? Divorce will work in your favor. Depression will work in your favor. These things are building you. Budgets will work in your favor. Being broke is going to work in your favor, because it's going to cause you to get up and do what you need to do. Somebody asked a question about living paycheck to paycheck. It's going to work in your favor, but you've got to give God something to work with. All things work together for the good. All things work together for the good. And those hateful people that will listen to this and that will discourage people from trying to live after they've gone through a divorce, I rebuke you, because that is not the will of God. God is love. He's love. And that's what it's all about. People are calling me, they're all upset, they're all up in arms, because people are badgering them and coming against them because they've had to go through this. They've had to endure this. But let me tell you something tonight. Endure as a good soldier. Take your power back. Be powerful and be great, because it's working for your good. You've learned something in the midst of it. You've grown in the midst of it. Take the good. Take the good. Leave the bad. Leave the bad. Use it as an example for what you won't do. But take the good and build on it. Take just what is good and build on it, because I promise you that if you've gone through a process, you have learned something in the midst of it. So that's what I have for you guys tonight. I will come back and I'll do it again. If more questions come in, I'll come back and I'll do it again. But this is my testimony. This is what God has done. It's not what I did. It's what I gave him to work with, and then it's how he worked it all together for my good. I work a full-time job. I run businesses with an S, with the help of assistants, right? But I own my own things, because we've gone through the process. And God, Latrice, will keep you through the process. But girlfriend, get up and do the thing that you know you are supposed to be doing, that you are called to do, and watch him work. Watch him work. See, the thing that the devil meant for bad, God is going to get the glory out of it. So he turns it all around and works it for your good. All of the words that were spoken, all of the curses that were decreed, all of the times that I was told you're not going to make it. You're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to do this without me. You're not going to have this, and I made you, and I this, and I that, and the other. All of the things that were said, I declared that it was going to be God that got the glory out of all of it. And he has received the glory, and he will continually receive the glory because you have to give it to him. Stop being bitter and be better. Stop keeping those children away from their mothers and their fathers. Let them see them. Let them make their own decision about who they are. The only time you make a decision to keep those kids away from the other parent is if they are in danger. And that is probably not up for you to decide. You have to learn to comply and be an adult in the matter. Be an adult. And the last thing I want to leave you guys with, I have to say this before I go, and I know the thing is freezing and the devil don't want me to say it, but I want y'all to understand that you have to operate, you have to use the F word. Not the one that you're thinking. No. You have to forgive. You have to forgive. The best thing, the way that you lay down and you rest at night and you wake up with peace on your mind is when you forgive. You forgive and you walk in total healing and true forgiveness. When you can look that other person in the eye, communicate with them openly, and move through the process. Doesn't matter how bitter they are, you do not have to retaliate. You don't have to retaliate. You don't have to answer to foolishness. You have to have adult conversations, but you are responsible as a Christian. You are responsible as a decent human being. You are responsible as an adult to learn how to forgive. 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 Everything won't be amicable all the time, but you got to learn to forgive daily because God forgives you daily. All of us have come short of the glory of God. But as we stand, as we are tonight in his presence, allowing him to teach through me, understand that you have to forgive. I pray tonight that none of you go to sleep with bitterness in your heart, that none of you hate the ex, that none of you detest them. Don't go with that. Don't leave with it. Don't go to sleep with it. You ought to understand that your life depends on the amount of times that you can forgive other people. You do not want to stand before God with unforgiveness in your heart. You even need to search it out. You need to find it and you need to forgive. And if it takes you saying to them, I forgive you, say it. Tell them, I forgive you. I forgive you. But stop being combative. Stop retaliating. And get your plan together and walk it out. Let God use you and let him do something great in your life. You guys know that I always give you guys a cliche or two, but understand that if you do the possible, God does the impossible. It was impossible. It was an impossible thought to be a almost 40-year-old woman with no credit history because I've been married since I was 24 years old. It was an impossible thought. But I did what was possible, which was put myself in a place of restoration so that God could restore and could redeem everything. And I'm a living testimony that not only will he give it back to you, but he'll do it better than it was done before. So you guys have an awesome, awesome, awesome evening. This is Pastor Rashida Jackson, and you can email your questions at bookrashida with one E at gmail.com. That's book BOOK Rashida RASHEDA at gmail.com. Email your questions, and if I get enough questions about divorce, I'll come back and I'll do it again. But you guys look for my schedule that will be published this week about the things that are going on. Make sure to go to my website, IamRashida.com, and check out all the great things that have happened in my life, and God gets the glory for all of it. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Rika, for your help. I appreciate all of you that have listened tonight. How you can help me get this message out is to share it. Send it. Share it. Even if you got to do it in private message, share it. I love you, Marcy. Share it. Tell somebody else. Be encouraged. Give your testimony, because it's going to help somebody else. It takes a weight off of you to be transparent, but just be transparent and tell the truth. Tell the truth. It is what it is. And guess what? We're going to live, and we're going to love, and we're going to be happy because we can. Because it's our right. It's our right to do that. So you guys be encouraged. Go get it done. Don't worry about the naysayers. Don't worry about people taking the Bible and preaching against you. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's all going to work for your good. Romans 8:28. God bless you tonight. I love you. Share this message with somebody else. You can do it. You can be great. Do the possible. God will do the impossible. It's his job, and it's his great pleasure. It's his great pleasure. You guys have an awesome night. God bless you.